mean, like, Chicago is super close to me and stuff shoots there, but like, is that settling? I mean, New York City would be next up. So there's theater. That's true. That's true art. But LA is Hollywood. You know, that's where it all happens. Oh my God. And there's so many people in Atlanta now that they say it's the best place to start. Hey, you. Yeah. Actor who's trying to decide what market to move to. Come on in. I got you. My name's Sam Valentine. I've been in the Los Angeles market for 13 years, but I help actors all over the US daily deciding where to move, what to do with their careers, how I can help them. And I'm going to help you today with a lot of tips about actually picking a market, moving there, and some stuff I think that more people should be talking about. So let's start out with why this is such a hard question. Because it sounds like you should just go somewhere, anywhere. But it's a lot heavier than that because a lot of us have a lot of baggage that comes with us. Be it family, be it finances, be it career goals versus someone else's goals for you. There's a lot that comes with the decision-making process. Also, there is no longer one hub of this industry. It used to be you go to New York for theater, you go to LA to be in Hollywood, clear, cut, and dry. Not anymore. And with the onset of self-tapes, we are told that you can film from anywhere to be considered for roles. Is that entirely true? We're also going to talk about that. And I'll just be frank with you guys, we have an overload of information from this platform to other platforms. And if this is like the 5th video you've watched on this today, just take a break. I mean, like it, comment it, subscribe, but take a break. We have so much information given to us at all times. We have to decide what to listen to. And honestly, a lot of that information just isn't good. I was told not to curse in the first 60 seconds of a video, so just in case I'm going to say, it's not good information. So let's talk about some actual decision criteria. Starting with the biggest one, I feel like everyone leaves out of this conversation. What is your actual financial situation? We all come from really different backgrounds, and that means we have really different financial situations. Do you have a lot of debt? This is going to change, I think, where you should go because you're going to need a lower cost of living so you can pay off that debt so you don't live with that cloud above your head indefinitely. Also, do you have family somewhere? That changes financially. Do you have family that's going to come with you, like dependents? Or do you have someone's couch you can sleep on in another city? That can also change and sway your opinion. Also falls into finances, what jobs or skill sets do you have that could fit a particular area? It matters when you go to a town how likely you are to get a job there because you're gonna need upfront cost of living. And lastly, but really simply, do you have a car? Do you want to keep your car? Or do you want to have to buy a car? Because that right there is a huge decision factor. Depending on the city you want to live in, Los Angeles, you're probably gonna need a car. I know people who take the bus, they do it very successfully, but it's a big part of their day-to-day lives managing the bus schedule. If you do not want to have a vehicle indefinitely, you should really check out New York City. Beautiful public transport, but you already know that. You probably already live there, to be honest, if you don't like having a car. So if number 1 is what is your financial situation, number 2 is what type of work do you want to do? And I know you. We are actors and we are like, I can do anything. I can be anything. I'm a squirrel. I am a villain. I am a rock on the side of the road and I have feelings about that. Like, I get it. I see you. I feel you. But also there's something you want to do more than other things. If you really live and die by theater, that's a big guiding light, you guys. If you are someone who's like, I want to be in a sitcom, Los Angeles, we are ready for you. It just depends on what you want to do. If you're someone who's like, I could do anything, I haven't decided yet, I want to be in TV, I want to be in film, I want to be all over the place, great, you're a little bit more of a blank slate on this. But getting specific about what you want to do is something I'm going to bring up time and time again on this channel because every actor needs to have an ideal scenario. We need to be focused on something at least for a period of time so we can actually work in that direction and put the work and skills and knowledge that we're gaining towards a specific point. Because if you're working on everything, you're working on nothing. And yes, there are exceptions to this rule. There are comedies that shoot in New York, there's theater in LA, Atlanta has a mix of everything. Yes, absolutely. But more or less, it's gonna be easier for you if you go to a hub of what you want to do. And listen, this job is so hard. Why not make a few things easier for yourself in the process? And the third question of our decision criteria is perhaps the most basic, but the most important. Where do you want to live? I get it. You're like, Sam, that's not what this video is about, but it is. You are deciding where you want to build roots as a person, not just an actor. So what are you interested in? Where do you want to plant roots? Where do you want to actually grow your life? A big factor is often weather. Do you want it to be sunny and 75 for a great deal of the year? Or are you one of those people who's like, I love seasons? I live in LA, I don't. I prefer it to be sunny and 75. Right now it's winter, I'm a little chilly, but just saying. There are places to fit your needs, and if you are given the gift and the privilege of picking where you want to live, my God, pick somewhere that makes you happy. Guys, the world is on fire. There's wars. Can I say that? There is so much bigger things going on in the world. If you can cultivate a place where you are truly happy, it is going to make it possible for you to stay there long enough to build the career you want to build. I mean, have you considered the living conditions? If you're gonna live in New York, you're probably gonna live in an apartment for a very, very, very long time. Does that make you happy? Or are you thinking like, I would really rather live somewhere where like I walk out my door and there's tons of trees and like fresh air and space? Okay, maybe check out Atlanta. There is a lot of factors that go into deciding what you want in your lifestyle, not just in your acting career. This is where having a real life with priorities other than, I just wanna act, is going to be important. You need to be a full-fledged person. By the way, I did this video about starting your acting career, and there's a whole section about growing where you're planted. So if you're somewhere and you're like, I'm actually okay where I am right now, check that video out first. Now that we have a clear picture, or clear-ish, of where you want to live, we're gonna get really specific on the steps I think you should take to move there. Number one, and everyone's least favorite topic, save money. No matter where you're going, it's going to be a change of environment, which increases your cost of living. Some places are very expensive. Your Los Angeles and your New York, just little things like groceries are gonna skyrocket. So you wanna start saving money now. And here's the question that always follows that. What's the magic number? How much do I need to get out there? There is no magic number. In a perfect world, if we want some sort of number to jump off of, you can check out websites that give you the cost of living in a certain area. You can make a rough budget for yourself, and you can look at what 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses would cost. If you can save that much, awesome. Do it. But no matter where you go, you're gonna need a lot of cash somewhere nearby because things like moving and changing positions are expensive. You also are gonna have actor expenses coming at you left, right, and center. So I want you to have the best possible odds. So make sure you start to save money now before you even start the moving process. Number two, in the time between now and when you move, I want you to use your time very wisely. For example, do you have a skill set you could cultivate that's gonna be more useful in the town you are moving to? So when I moved to Los Angeles, I knew I was gonna move here way before I actually came. So in the year leading up, I quit my nannying job because I had tons and tons of resume pieces that were already about nannying. So I knew I had that on my resume, but I knew restaurant jobs was a big way to make money in Los Angeles. So I spent a year working in a restaurant and on the side learning bartending so that when I came to LA, it would be easier to get a restaurant job. So that was one way I up-leveled my skill set in my side jobs before I even moved to the town I was moving to. And this is something I invite you to do too. Secondly, while you're using your time wisely, are you invested in your local actor community? There is an actor community somewhere around you, I guarantee it. And you should utilize your time there because I bet you, someone who's there has previously lived in the place you're gonna live. You know what they call that? The people they know versus the people you're gonna know soon? Relationships, AKA networking. So talk to other people about this process. You never know who knows someone who's already there who can maybe be a first point of contact. And if all else fails, maybe they can just buy you a coffee. But regardless, I think being a part of your local actor community is hugely important because you need to get your feet wet in this business. The first time you actively read a script should not probably be the day that you move to your next big town. Start to do these things now that you want to do in your bigger city. Because when you move, you're also gonna have a lot of things going on at once. You're gonna be looking for jobs, jobs. You're gonna be dealing with like unpacking and like, where is all your stuff? So if you do things like read scripts, watch content, work on a play with a fellow member of a theater community, or work on sides with another actor, that's gonna save you time when you get to your new spot and you don't feel like you're as green, but you're still gonna be green. Like, let's talk about that for a second. Abrupt left turn. Guys, wherever you go, wherever you end up, when you first start there, you will be green. It's another phrase for new, up and coming, developmental, and it is not a slight. It is not a bad thing. It's just what you are, and it's totally okay. Hey, you know what? I'm green at YouTube. Okay, see? We're all new at things all of the time. And instead of trying so hard to not be seen as the new person and trying to fight against it, accept it, take it on, and ask for help along the way. I really wish I would have pushed less hard against this concept when I moved to LA. It like killed me. I didn't want to be seen as the new person. I didn't want to be called green, but I was green. And I spent so much time trying to look cooler than I was and more experienced than I was, that I missed out on a lot of opportunities for mentorship and help along the way. So just accept it. You're green. Let it be fun. Enjoy it. Third step in the moving process for you is to ever so gently cultivate your move over a period of time. This means if this is something you are actively thinking you are going to do pretty soon, you need to put a date on the calendar. Nothing holds your feet to a fire quite like a date you stick to and tell people you stick to. That is often the domino that knocks out a lot of other things in this process. Once you say, this is when I'm moving, that gives you dates to figure out your moving situation, to start looking for a place to live, to consider how much time you have to save. But that is going to be the first initial step in this process that's going to blow your mind with how much it lines up everything else. And to add to that, there is never going to be a perfect day. There is not one day that's going to be like, oh, this is the perfect day. I'm not missing anyone's birthday or wedding or any special event, and it just so happens to line up with everything's ready for me. It doesn't exist, you guys. You're always going to miss something. There's always going to be a date that feels like it's a little out of whack. We kind of just have to accept it. You need to put a date on the calendar when you're actually moving. And if you're someone who's watching this video and you know already what that date is, comment it below, because I want to cheer you on and I want to know when your big moving day is happening and what you're doing until then. Remember, use your time wisely. Along with this, you're going to start putting out feelers in your new city. Like I said earlier, I bet you know someone who knows someone who lives there. You never know. Your aunt's cousin's best friend could lead you to your first manager. That's how I got my first manager. You never know who is going to be available. And like I said, if all else fails, they can be someone you can call and talk to, or you get to drive to a new side of town to visit them. Best case scenario, it ends up being someone you can lean on in this process. So let's say you find somewhere online that you're like, this place looks available for rent, but is the area weird? Is it sketchy? I don't know. Contact this person and ask them, hey, do you know this area? Do you know what I did before I moved to LA? I had a friend of mine do a full drive-by of my new potential living situation. They gave me feedback on the location, how far it was from certain things in town, how the area looked, how far it was off the highway, like all of the things I needed to know so that I could absolutely agree to sign a lease before I even lived there. That was so helpful and it took so much stress off my shoulders. Highly recommend. And if you don't know anyone who knows someone who lives where you're gonna live, I would say check out some local Facebook groups. Check out some online forums. There are people who live in these places who would be willing to share their thoughts and can just be resources along the way. And you know what? It's 2024. It's not weird to meet people on the internet anymore. And our fourth and last step in this process, now that you have a date, now that you're doing good stuff with your in-between time and you're saving money, you are going to actually plan your move. This is where we get into the logistics. First and foremost, what are you bringing with you where you are going? If you are moving to a much smaller space, I recommend you start the cleaning out process right now. The last thing you want to do is take some of your stuff with you only to have someone call you and say like, hey, you got a bunch of shit left here. You got to come pick it up. And you're like, I don't even know what's there. I don't even want it. Don't leave stuff behind that you don't want. Start to do your clean out, pare down process now. This will also help you save time in the packing process, and then you'll bring less extraneous things to your new city. I did not bring much when I moved to LA. I packed up my car and my car was brought to LA, and that was the whole U-Haul situation. But as you're looking at how much stuff you have, this leads us to our next point, which is how are you gonna get where you are going? Are you gonna drive? Are you gonna fly and just bring a bunch of checked bags? Are you gonna ship stuff? Are you gonna rent a U-Haul? Start to think about those logistics now, and if you're like, God, I really don't wanna bring all this stuff in a U-Haul, great. Time to donate items. Pare down, get rid of things. These are logistics of actually moving to a new city. And when you get there, you're gonna grow into a different version of yourself. You're gonna blossom, you're gonna bloom, and you're gonna be like, I don't really need these 17 sweaters. I live in LA, okay? For real, get rid of some of those sweaters. You need like one raincoat and just a couple. Also, when you're looking at actually moving, consider the weather when you're moving. If you're moving to New York in the winter, or maybe Atlanta or Chicago, is it gonna be snowing? What does that change for your actual driving or flying situation? Look at what the active weather is going to be during those months. And if you're like, I hate this sounds overwhelming, then try and move during a time in which there is not ridiculous weather going on. Although, as I'm saying that, I'm realizing that in this current era, there's a lot of global warming and weather's kind of fucked everywhere, but yeah. And with that comes the thought of, when is the perfect time to move to these cities? The perfect time to move to the place that you want to move is yesterday. The next perfect time is on your calendar right now, because you wrote a date down. Don't stress about it being pilot season or this or that time of year. Just get where you're going, which brings us to our last steps of right before you leave. You can start to do things like apply for jobs online and acting classes even before you get there. Tons of actors I've recently talked to who moved to Los Angeles just a year ago started in their online acting classes before they moved. So when they got here, they already had a community of people they had worked with on and off. And also, you can start applying for jobs before you move. That is something I wish I would have done, because I spent my first 10 days in LA eating oatmeal and peanut butter and feeling like I was never gonna figure shit out. And I did. I found a job within a week. I lived in a great place and I found a job, because that was all I did for that first few days. And instead of having that panic, I would say, you can start applying for jobs now. Check out Craigslist, check out other various websites like LinkedIn, like Fiverr. If you're someone who can work out your work situation before you even get where you're going, it's gonna save you so much time and so much stress. Is it gonna be your forever job? No. Is it gonna get you going? Absolutely. If this feels overwhelming to you, I understand. I felt very overwhelmed, and it felt damn near impossible before I moved from my tiny little town in the Midwest all the way to LA, but it's so possible. People do it every single day. And if it's something you want to do, let's put that date on the calendar. Let's use our time before the move wisely, and let's get you off to a rad start in whatever city you're going to be in. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to this channel, because I'm doing a ton of content for new actors, and this is just the second in a series of lots of videos coming to you straight from me, and I cannot wait to read your comments and see when you guys are moving to your big cities.